You want?
Now.
Okay, tonight is Yoma Daf Nun Gimel 53. Ton Rabbanon. V'nosana saktoris ala eish lifnei Hashem. That's the pasuk that you shall place the ktoris on the fire. Lifnei Hashem. Shelo yitakim mibachut yachnis. You should not light the fire before going in and go in with it burning already. Lahotzi meliban shel tztukim. She'oimrim yisakim mibachutz v'yachnis. The tztukim actually held that you should walk into the Kodesh Kadoshim with the Torah already burning. My Dorish, the Tztukim always had a pasuk. What pasuk did they darshan? It says, Ki be'anan Eirael, in a cloud shall I be seen on the kaparas. Malamed, she attacking mebachutz v'yachnis. So you have to have the Torah burning already before you go in. Amar lam chachamim, balok v'nemar v'nosan esak Torah ala eish lifnei Hashem. You have to put the Torah on the fire only. Lifnei Hashem is the Kodesh Kadoshim. So in kein matam adloimer ki be'anon eirael akapiris. Malamed shenoisen bo mala asha. You have to put a grass. One of the spices of the Torah is called mala asham, which causes the smoke to rise, because you have to have an onon in the Kodesh Kadoshim. Uminayin shenoisen bo mala asham. How do you know you have to put this specific thing? Shneimar, v'chisa anan aktoris es akapiris. Because the cloud has to cover the kapiris, implying that haloy nasan b'mala asham. If you didn't have, if the Torah was missing that ingredient, or it was missing any of the other ingredients, chayiv misa. It's chayiv misa. Frank the Gemara, I already know chayiv misa. V'tepek leidi kama I'll be a rekonis. You're not allowed to walk into the Kodesh Kadoshim empty-handed. If you did, that you already have a chayiv misa. Why do I need an extra chayiv misa? Amrav sheisha tzach ba'eskinon. For example, you didn't know about the dinim about going in, but you were mazed, you knew that you were missing one of the ingredients. So that's another reason why there's a special din of chiyuv misa by that. Rav Ashi Amar Filu Tema Hizid Bezu V'Zu. Rav Ashi said you could explain you're amazed by both. But Kigon Da'ayel Shtei Aktoris, you went in with two Ktorises. One was complete, one was deficient. On the din of that you're not allowed to walk into the Kodesh Kadoshim empty-handed, one of the Torahs says Sholem, so you wouldn't be chayav for that. But a haktorah mechayav to come a character Torah's chasera. But if you're going to end up burning the other Torahs, which is chaser, you're going to be chayav a special misa for the fact that we now learn that there's a din that you're chayav misa if you burn a deficient Torahs. Omar ma. How do you know you have to put this ingredient that causes a cloud? Talmud lemer v'chisa. Well, I understand. Kra l'kra. You already learned it from ki be'anan eira elak Torahs. Why do you need another pasuk? The plant is called male asham. Now, the plant had a leaf and a root. So I might have thought ela ale male asham, only the leaf. Iker male asham, what about the root? I need to put the leaf and the root. I just learned the opposite. The Tanya, if you put in the root and then you watch the result, the smoke went up straight like a stick until it reached the ceiling, and then it sort of covers the ceiling and goes down the walls, which seems to imply that you use the root, not the leaf. I only know that you have to use the root. What about the leaf? No, I need the two psukim to teach me something else. I might have thought that the Mala Osham was only used in the Oel Moed in the Midbar. Shiloh Ubeisoilamim Minayin, that the same din applies when they were in Mishkan Shiloh and Beis Hamikdash. Talmud Lemar V'chisa. We have the other pasuk of V'chisa that you have to have this kind of filling of the cloud no matter where. Wherever the Shechina is, we learn that out from the pasuk. You might think that you only have to use this Mala Oshon for the Ketores of Yom Kippur, but they burned Ketores every day. How do you know that you have to use it when you burn the Ketores every day? Rav Ashi Omar, the two psukim is for something else. Chad mitzvah, that it's mitzvah and muvcher to do it, but you might think that if you don't do it, b'diavad it's okay. V'chad la'akev, that you have to do it, and if you didn't do it, it's puzzle. Rava Omar chad la'oinish v'chad la'zara. One pasuk was to tell you the chiyuv of misa. The other pasuk is to give you that there's a lav. You need to know, before you know the punishment, you need to know that there's a lav to do it. Tanya Rabbi Eliezer Omer v'lo yomus. It says, Daber la'aron v'achicha v'yavo b'choles la'kodesh b'beis la'paroches el pnei ha'kaporos asher al ha'aron v'lo yamus. That's the oynish. Ki be'onon eira'eh la'kaporos. I shall be seen only with a cloud. That's the azar. That's the love. Now, Yachol Yushneim Amurim Kodem Misas Pnei Aaron. I might have thought that both of these dinim were taught before Nadav Avihu died. Talmud Loimer Achrei Moish Shnei Bnei Aaron. These dinim were taught after Misas Pnei Aaron. Yachol Yushneim Amurim Achrei Misas Shnei Bnei Aaron. I might think that they were taught after Misas Bnei Aaron. Talmud Lomar, Ki be'onon eira'eh la'kaporos. Eira'eh is the future. So that none of you had not died yet. Well, both psukim seem to be contradictory. Haketza. Azhara koydem Misa. So Echanami. The lav was taught before the death of Nadav Avihu. The oynish of Misa was taught after their death. Now, my Talmud, where do you see that? Amar Rava Amar Kraki be'anon eira'eh ve'adayin lo nira. Right, the eira'eh's future had not been seen. The onon kaporos because the Mishkan had not been built yet. My time, so the question is then, if the Azor and the Misa were not given prior to the death of Nadav Avihu, you were not allowed to. Why was Nadav Avihu killed? In order to carry out a punishment, the person has to know the lav and the Misa. And we're learning tonight that these laws were taught, or at least one of the laws was taught after their death. So, Kiditanya, Rabbi Eliezer, whoever is Moira halacha before his Rebbe is Chayv Misa. And they should have asked Moshe Rabbeinu what to do. They didn't. They paskin in front. That's why they were killed. It has nothing to do with the fact that they brought a Ketores in. My dorsh v'nosnu bnei Aaron hakohen eish al hamizbeach. Afal pisha eish yeredes min hashamayim mitzvah lavim min ha'edyon. We know that a fire always came down from Shamayim to consume the karbonis. So you might think that you don't have to bring human fire to the mizbech. The din is you have to, and that's what Nadav Avihu did. And what they did really was not wrong. But since they paskin lifnei Moshe Rabbeinu, that was why they were killed. Then Yotzav v'lo derech knisa, so he walked in to the Kodesh Kadoshim. When he walked out, he backed up. He didn't turn his back on the Kodesh Kadoshim. Well, I understand. There's Givon, where the Mishkan was, and there's Yerushalayim. So what do you mean he came to the Bama that was in Givon, Yerushalayim? V'chimagin Givon etz Yerushalayim. It connected him leaving Givon, going to Libiyosum Yerushalayim leGivon. When he came from Yerushalayim to Givon, he faced the Mizbeach. Panav Klape Bama Kederech Biyoso. Af Yitzyosu MeGivon Yerushalayim. When he left Givon, going back to Yerushalayim, Panav Klape Bama, he faced the Bama. That means he backed out. He didn't turn his back to the Mizbeach Kederech Biyoso. Same din, v'chein kohanim b'avodasan, u'leviim b'chluchanim, v'Yisrael b'mamadam. The kohanim, leviim, the Israelim who worked in the base of Mikdash, kishein niftarim, when they left, lo hayu machzirim p'teihem v'holchin. They wouldn't turn around, put their back to the base of Mikdash. They would sort of either back out or on the side. Chein tamid aniftim merabo. So when a tamid leaves his rebbe, lo yachzer panav v'yelech. You shouldn't just turn around. You should just go sideways. When Rabbi Elazar would leave his Rebbe Rabbi Yochanan, he would sort of crawl backwards until he didn't see Rabbi Yochanan anymore. And then the Karav boy Rabbi Elazar l'sagoi. No, the Karav boy Rabbi Elazar l'sagoi v'kozel achor ad machas mined Rabbi Yochanan. He would back away before he would turn his back on Rav Yochanan. He would have to be out of the eyesight of Rav Yochanan. Rav also walked backwards when he left Rav Yosef. The Rav Yosef Dama. There were all sorts of bumps on the way that he couldn't. He was walking backwards. He would trip and he would wound himself so much that he was leaking blood. So much so he had covered for his Rebbe. Remember Rav Yosef, Rav is bleeding to death. That he gave him a blessing that he will be the head of the city because he's mechabed his Rebbe so much. Rav Alexander Yoshua ben Levi. When you daven Shmona Esrei, after you finish davening, you take 3 steps back, because it's like you're leaving. You've been panim el panim, as if you're in the Kodesh Kadoshim with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You take 3 steps back because you're leaving the Kodesh Kadoshim like the Kohen Gadol leaves, going backwards. The achar kach yitein shalom. He has to sort of bow, say shalom aleichem. Amalei Rav Mordechai kivin shepasa shalosh pius lachrav. After you take the 3 steps back, you should stand there for a while. You shouldn't just walk away. And he doesn't just take the 3 steps forward right away. It's like a dog going back on his vomit. When you daven Shmona Esrei, when you finish, you got to take 3 steps back. You bow. If you didn't do that, it's better you didn't daven in the first place. When you bow, first to the right, then to the left. Shenemar, miyamino eish daslam. Hashem comes from the right. V'oimer, yipol mitzidcha elef u'revava miminecha. 1,000 from the left and 10,000 from the right. Now, my v'oimer, why do you need an extra pasuk? Chitema, because you might think everything starts with the right. It's a pasuk. Rava saw that when Abaye took the steps back, he bowed to the right first. I understand. We didn't mean to your right. You have to bow to the right of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is facing you. So when you bow to the left, you're bowing to the right of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Dav Yamina HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Not only that, but when you take the 3 steps back, you sort of bend the whole way. The halacha is that when you bow first to the left, then to the right. And then when he left the Kodesh Kadoshim and was in the Heichal, the Mishnah says, Mishpalot tefillah k'tzar b'bayis hachitzon. He davened a short tefillah. My matzli, what did he daven? Rava Baravada, Rava Baravada, Tarvar Mishmed Rava Amri, Yiratzon Fanach Hashem Lokenu, Sheteshana Zu Geshuma Ushachuna. Should be rainy and warm. Right? What do you mean? Warm is good? Elaema im shchuna. He meant if it's a hot season this year, take shuma. Next year it should get rain, so we won't have drought. Ravacha ben Rav Messiah ben Mishmed Rav Yehuda. Lo Yadi Ovid Shultim in the base Yehuda. The power of Melech should never leave Yehuda, like David HaMelech. Everyone should make their own living. One shouldn't rely on the other. The Kohen Gadol prayed that Hashem should not listen to the tefillas of the people who travel, because they would daven, they don't want rain. But a Kohen Gadol understands that the people need rain. So he would say, don't listen to those tefillas. Rav Chanina ben Doisa Rav Chanina, that a lot of miracles happened to him. When he would travel, Shada Matrale, it was raining on him. Everybody's happy because it's raining, but I'm having problems because I can't travel. Posak Mitra, the rain stopped. When he came to his home and he had his fields there, the Chanina benachas. Everyone needs rain, and they're now bitsar. So asa mitra, so the rain fell. Rav Yosef, my anulate slusa de Kohen Gadol Gabi Rav Chanina ben Doisa. Rav Chanina ben Doisa was like a child in front of the father who granted him everything. That's how Kadosh Rav Chanina ben Doisa was, even compared to the Kohen Gadol. There was a Kohen Gadol, sheherich b'tfilaso. He spent too much time davening. Some Kohanim were appointed to look for him. They were beginning to go into the Kodesh Kadoshim, he was coming out. Or he was coming out of the Heichal. Why did you spend so much time? What? You have a problem that I daven for you? Yeah, but don't get in the habit of doing it. The Mishnah said, if you spend too much time there, the people are going to be afraid that you died in there. Okay, so now, again, let's remember, they brought the par, and he did a vidui for himself. Then he did a second vidui for the Kohanim. They also had done a lottery on the two goats. One goat stood on the door going to Azazel. One goat was La Hashem, but they didn't do anything to the goat yet. They shechted the par, received the blood. They had someone stirring the blood. At that point, he went to get the Ketores from the Mizbeach, and now he walked into the Kodesh Kadoshim, and the Ketores is in the Kodesh Kadoshim. And the Mishnah says, Mishenitel Aron, Even Haisasham Mimos Neviim Rishonim. When they built the Beis HaMikdash, there was a rock there called Even Shasiya. Ushasiya Isonikres. Gavom and Aretz Shalosh Etzbos. It was 3 finger breadths high of the ground. And the Aleh Ayanoising, in the Zman of the Bayesheni, when there was no Aron, he would place the Ketores pan on that rock. Then he went outside of the Heichal. He took the bowl with the blood of the par that was being stirred. Nichtas l'makom shenichtas. He went back to the Kodesh Kadoshim. V'omad b'mkom sham. He stood in the same place where he did the Ketores, in front of the Ketores. V'hiza mimenu achas l'mala v'sheva l'mata. He sprinkled blood, 1 above and 7 down. He did it like a line with multiple drops. Achas, achas v'yachas, achas v'shtayim, achas v'sholosh, achas v'arba, achas v'chamesh, achas v'shesh, achas v'sheva. Yotzav v'nichok al ken hazav shebeichel. After he did this hazor with the par blood, he went into the heichal, and there was a stand there, a golden stand, and he placed this bull on the golden stand. Then he went outside into the Azara. Hevilos Asor, the sa'ir that the lottery fell on Hashem, shachto, they shechted the goat. The kibo b'mizrakas damo, and they received the blood. Nichnas l'makom shenichli, went with the goat blood now into the Kodesh Kadoshim. V'amad b'makom sha'amad, he stood in front of the Evan Shasiya. V'hiza mimenu achas l'malav v'sheva l'mata, same thing. Kachaya moina achas v'yachas, achas u'shtayim. Then Yotzav v'nichol ken azov hasheni shebehechol. He came outside with that bull and placed it on a second golden stand. Rabbi Yehuda Omer lo Hashem elokein echad bilvad, was one stand, and he put both bulls on the same stand. Notel damapar v'niach damasoyer. He picked up the par blood, leaving the goat blood. V'hiza mimeno la parochas shekeneged arnu b'chutz. He's facing the Kodesh Kodashim, but not going inside of it. He's facing the curtain, and he sprinkles on the curtain. Achas l'mala v'sheva l'mata. The kachayamona, same thing. Achas v'achas, same thing. Notel damasoyer, v'niach damapar. Then he took the goat blood. V'hiza mimeno la parochas shekeneged arnu b'chutz. He sprinkles the goat blood also on the parochas. Achas l'mala v'sheva l'mata. Then he poured the goat, the cow blood into the kli of the goat blood, and then he poured the combined blood into the empty kli. So now the two bloods are mixed. It says Mishnignas Loktoni la Mishnitl. This Mishnah doesn't say once the Aron was buried, it says once the Aron was taken. This Tanan Kemand Amar Aron Gal Bavel. This Mishnah is according to the opinion that the Aron was taken to Bavel. The Tanya Rabbi Eliezer Omer Aron Gal Bavel. Shenever v'litshuvas hashana shalach hamel Nebuchadnezzar v'aver Bavelo im klei chemdas beis Hashem. That all the kalim were taken, including the Aron. Rabbi Shimon Yochai Omer Aron Gal Bavel. Rabbi Shimon said the same thing. Shenever lo yivater davar Amar, nothing will be left. Elo aseres sadibros shabo, including the aseres sadibros. Rabbi Yehuda ben Lakish Omer Aron bimkomo nignas. No, that the Aron was buried. Shneimar vayarei roshei habodim min hakodesh al pnei hadvir v'lo yira chutza vayusham ad hayom hazeh. Upli gedu l'domer u'loshol Rav Masa ben Chorshes Rav Shimon ben Yochai beroimi. Chmiachash Rav Eliezer melamdenu pam rishon u'shniya Aron gal bavel rishon ad Amaran vayvir bavel im klichem das beis Hashem. If we already given one pasuk, shniya maya dichsiv, why do I need a second? And we will learn the next blot tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock. Tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock. Motzei Shabbos, 9:15.